I call Ricardo Menéndez March.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. So yeah, we were seeing on part one, and I want to acknowledge that this is a complex bill with quite a few insertions into the Social Security Act. I wanted to pick up on the new section 236A that is being added to the Social Security Act under this bill, under clause 15, particularly around the sanctions for face failure, report job search failure without good and sufficient reason to meet requirements. I wanted to ask whether MSD had developed guidelines already to ensure people know how and to what kind of jobs to apply. Where has MSD gotten so far with developing these guidelines? So for example, like if you have somebody who isn't, let's say somebody who never pursued a degree and then is applying for a lot of jobs where clearly those, the person's qualifications are not matched with the job, like would the person then be deemed to have met the requirements under the job search non-financial sanction? And if so, I'm just keen to get the Minister's update on how does she think this could be actually operationalized in a way that meets the desired functions of the intent, or the desired intent from the Minister. Because in some ways, part of the reason why I think the section 236A and the broader components of the report job search can end up becoming unworkable is that people can end up applying for jobs that clearly do not match the skills or even for example, could be applying for jobs that are really, really far away, but then they can't access things like the transition to work grant to allow them to then relocate, etc. The other question I wanted to ask in this call was in relationship to the new section 236H in relationship to upskilling. I noticed that there doesn't seem to be a definition of upskilling, and so I wanted to ask whether she thinks that's a bit of a gap. I say this because the way that this sanction is laid out, and I note, by the way, Madam Chair, that this is one of the sanctions that didn't end up getting any public scrutiny via submissions because it was introduced later down the line, so the public did not get to submit on it. But I wanted to understand as well, how will MSD end up defining upskilling? Because if people are just required to attend specific workshops, for example, and comply and participate in those for a prescribed minimum of hours, how will then MSD ensure that those actually are upskilling people, right? It's different to just require people to attend seminars for the sake of attending seminars, but whether they're actually meeting the intent of upskilling. How has MSD developed guidelines to ensure that the prescribed workshops actually meet the intent of upskilling people? I once again wanted to check why is there no, in relationship to upskilling, but I guess this could apply to other sanctions, but specifically on here, why is there a prescribed minimum amount of hours later in the legislation, but no maximum amount of hours? Is the Minister concerned that this could be utilized in the wrong way by a minister and or future governments to then lay out a really unrealistic amount of maximum hours? I know that the status quo in so far as what we've seen in the public is that the intent is to have a minimum 5 hours in 1 week for 4 weeks. I want to take this opportunity as well to speak to an amendment that touches on clause 15 under my name, and this is amendment number 279 and 285. I haven't talked about those two amendments. This would delete, the first one, 279 would delete 236A to remove money management, and 285 delete the new sections 236B, 236C, and 236D to remove community work experience. We believe that these two financial sections in particular are the most harmful. I wonder if the Minister would be open to removing the most harmful parts of legislation. Otherwise, I'm quite keen for the Minister to address the other questions I laid out. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I call the Honourable Louise Upston.
Madam Chair, there was a lengthy discussion last time the committee sat around the job search, so I'm not going to repeat things that have been covered. In terms of the upskilling, the guidance will be developed in the next couple of months. The go-live's not till October. In terms of the hours limit, we do still expect that people will be looking for a job.
Doesn't really address a question about what's the maximum hours that would be put in there.
What is this? She's just like, I'm not going to repeat myself, and then sits back down again. It's like, what the fuck? I know she does that when she can't answer a question.
Yeah, so that's one of Louise's go-tos.
What the fuck? Okay. Yeah, so Ricardo is out here saying, this is a complex bill. But I thought Louise said it was a simple bill. But anyways, so yeah, she didn't answer the question, will applying for a job that doesn't match skills, aka a job that requires a qualification, would that count as meeting obligations? She just stands up and is like, oh, I'm not going to repeat myself, and sits down again. Because quite often those are the jobs that pay enough for people to not be reliant on government assistance.
Yeah.
You know, and again, Ricardo brought up a good point. What about upskilling? You know, are you going to fund tertiary education? No, you're making cuts. So yeah, I mean, and why was this brought in later, after the submission process?
That was the part that was on there, was that it was atrocious the amount of amendments they went to the bill that were done after submissions closed, but before oral submissions took place.
I love this. A Jedi would be proud of that deflection.